How the fuck, human, and how do you get a game like this one without even realizing that you're in a 1v3? Well, that's what we're going to find out in this video, and if you don't believe me, here's the clip from the stream. I did what? Okay. Now, how did that happen? Well, before we look into that, let's have a look at the vehicle first, the STB-1. This thing does pack quite a mighty punch, 3.2k DPM, 350 alpha damage, and 0.32 accuracy, which is very good. Now, it also has 11 degrees of gun depression, which is very, very good. And on top of that, the mobility, powder weight ratio is 22.46, which is very good as well, and 52 degrees of traverse. So this thing does go quite well. Overall, it's a very good medium tank, but does it have good armor as well? You can not really pen the upper plate of it, but you can pen the lower side here. So you want to keep this vehicle moving back and forth, but you can pen the lower part of the turret here, but the upper part of it is pretty much impenetrable. So keep your peeking to the minimum and always hide this spot right here. The hull, I mean, it's pretty paper for the most part. You can pen it with any tier 9 and tier 10. Same with the side. You're going to get some miracle bounces here and there, but for the most part, your hull is pretty pennable. But the turret is very solid if you use it wisely. If you keep it moving back and forth, you won't be able to be pinned in the turret. Now, when I'm playing this game, I don't really think anymore. It's all just automated, essentially, because I have internalized all the processes that are necessary. How do you even get to that kind of level? Obviously, the first thing is you play for a very long time, and it takes a lot of practice. And the second thing is that you first pay attention. Because to no longer need to pay attention, you obviously first need to pay attention. There are two ways of doing this. Essentially, I have no idea what's going on, but I'm doing extremely well. There's a lot of other players that have no idea what's going on, but they're doing extremely badly. The difference is that I've once paid attention, and I've internalized all the things that are going on, which then allows me to talk about random topics on stream while not having a clue what I'm doing in game and still getting one like this. Now, I want you to understand how this works, right? I'm not bragging or anything because it's a video game. Whatever I do in here doesn't matter. It's a video game. Whether I do 6k damage or 600, it's not gonna make a difference. So, but if you want to reach that level of as well, where you don't even have to think anymore while playing, then here's how to do it. First of all, warning: if you get to this point where you don't have to think anymore and it just happens automatically, you will get incredibly and undoubtedly bored because anything that you do is incredibly predictable. Now, you do need 3 things to get there. First of all, map knowledge and tank knowledge. If you know all the tanks, if you know all the maps, where can I play this vehicle? If I'm playing an STB and I'm playing on Mayan Ruins, I exactly know every single spot I can put this tank to where I have the advantage. That's very simple. The second thing, well, it's not very simple. It's hard to learn, but once you have learned it, it's in there. The second thing is human knowledge, right? How do you know humans? And obviously, because if you're just going to go on your own and sit in a place, that's going to be a player that's going to be bad, right? If I, let's say, find an FE215B right over there, that's just rushing through the heavy side on his own. I know that that guy is not a good player. Immediately. You got to know the players, right? And there's not much thinking going on there. It's just like, guy doing that, probably not good. I'm saying probably here because you never know the level of a player just by watching them play. But if you watched enough players play and you paid attention, you eventually internalize what a good player does, what a bad player does. That is not what a good player does right there. So essentially, you can fight the guy. And number 3, pick the weakest target. That's it. Like, all you have to do is figure out if what you're doing right now is worth fighting, right? Like, let's say I could go to the enemy squad and fight 4 people over there. Or I can sit in front of this FE215B and just get him wrecked because there's nothing he can do. I've got the gun depression, I've got the turret armor, he can't even penetrate me, and he's not even looking at me. And that's free 2k damage, essentially, right there. Which is also a thing based on luck, obviously. That's one of the things that a lot of people forget, that if you are getting great games like this, nothing happens without luck. It's also important. Nothing happens without, especially if you're not paying attention like I am here. Like, when I was playing this game, we were talking about, I don't know, money or millionaires or something like that. So I was not paying attention to what's happening in game. But we do now. 2v4. I'm still full HP. Done 3.6k damage, but I've kept all my hit points alive, which is something that is very important in a situation like this, because the more hit points you have, the more mistakes you're allowed to make, the more good moves you can suffer from that the enemy does. So essentially, if you want to obviously be in a situation like this, preserve your hit points. How do you do that? Well, again, map knowledge, tank knowledge, human knowledge. You play in a way to maximize your damage and minimize your risk. How do you do that? Well, for example, that FV215B back down there, he was the perfect hit point sponge. While that guy was, if I was on their team, while that guy was dying, I would have pounded that grill. Now, I'm gonna go for the Kennedy 1 here. Because the Kennedy 1, he can't kill me with one clip, and he can't reload by the time that clip's done. So, gone. Now here is where you see that I'm not actually paying attention. Because at this point, I have 1,200 hit points. The Emel's pushing me, the 183 is pushing me. Here, shooting the Emel first is the correct distance. But here, shooting the 183 would have probably been the better idea. Because, essentially, he's a big threat. But the Emel just decides to run out of the... what is he doing? Like, what is he doing? He's just driving someplace. Instead of them playing together, they just play apart. And that's how you win 1vx situations. Like, there's no magic science to it here. All I've did is watch them be stupid and then capitalize off their stupidity. Like, there's nothing I've done that I know that won me that game. But the only thing I did there is watch them fail and then capitalize off that failure. But let's watch that again, just for the memes. And that's the very important thing here, right? If you want to get to a point where you can just play automatically, all you have to do is, again, understand the player better than the player understands themselves. If I know what that Emil is thinking, if he is thinking at all, then it doesn't matter what I'm thinking. Because I know what they're doing, and I can easily react to it. That's pretty much the secret sauce. Just understand the enemy player, understand the enemy tank, understand the map, and then you don't have to bother anymore.